When did America become the third world country?
So, a lot of people are choosing the option of living in their cars simply because they cannot afford to pay rent.
I'm a little concerned just on how my generation and the future generations are supposed to buy homes. So, how are we supposed to buy a home when minimum homes are 300,000?
We are living in a retirement nightmare right now with so many people facing homelessness.
When did America become the third world country? I was out this morning helping some of my unhoused kiddos. I run a micro nonprofit here in my hometown in Arizona, and there was a man sitting on a bench that I didn't recognize. I'm gonna cry. He reminded me so much of my dad the whole time talking to him. So, Antonio is 56 years old. He's worked as a roofer for most of his life, and 2 years ago, he had 5 strokes and was in the hospital for a long time. They told him he was never going to walk again. And he worked his way through rehab and got back to walking. He's the last in his family that's still alive. His siblings were much older. His mom and dad have been dead for decades. And he doesn't have any family, anybody around him. So as he got out of the hospital, he didn't have anywhere to go. He said that they were working on disability for him. He said that people were working on some subsidized housing. It's been 2 years. He's been homeless since his release from the hospital until a couple months ago when he had rehabilitated himself enough that he was able to, at age 54, after 5 strokes, get back to roofing in the Arizona heat. Antonio told me that he can barely hold the tools and he's been working as hard as he can, but he had to take a week off here a couple months ago and has never been able to go back. His hands were shaking the whole time I'm sitting there on this bench next to him. I've been in the hospital myself this past week, and I'm gonna go home today. I'm gonna work in my studio a little bit, and then I'm gonna lay down while I check my emails and do a couple Zoom interviews. Antonio told me that he's just feeling terrible today, and yet he just biked 8 miles because he doesn't have a car so that he could go to DES to try to reapply for food stamps. I'm not a billionaire, can't put this man in a house. I did offer to do free social media management. He has a little TikTok that he's done a couple of videos, and he said that he's had quite a few people watch them. So as soon as we get that up and running, I'll share that with you guys. I hope you'll follow along with him. I personally became homeless during my divorce. From the time of the end of my marriage until homelessness was just 10 months. I was 44 years old. I always thought that there was some type of a safety net underneath me, that, welfare, subsidized housing, something would kick in. There wasn't. There was nothing. I wondered to myself, too, like how many roofs of rich people this man has worked on just to fall through the cracks like this. Welcome to America.
She sat down on a bench next to a stranger and saw her own story looking back at her. She'd been homeless herself once, at 44, after her divorce. And she never forgot what that felt like. So when she met a man who survived 5 strokes and still dragged himself back onto a roof in the Arizona heat because he had no other choice, she didn't just walk past. This is a show about resilience and about refusing to look away from what everyday Americans are actually carrying right now. Let's get into it. If that story moved you even a little, hit subscribe right now, because this channel exists to make sure stories like theirs don't just disappear into the scroll. Now let's get into why so many people are making this exact choice, and what it says about the retirement so many were promised.
It's people out here right now today, man. They would rather make a $800 or $900 a month payment on an SUV or a pickup truck and live in a vehicle than to live in these overpriced ass houses and overpriced ass apartments. It is cheaper to go and finance a vehicle for $700 or $800 a month, and you tack on a little insurance, which is about $300 depending on your age. They'd rather live in a vehicle than to be disrespected and have to pay high mortgage and high rent prices. These apartments now, they use their application process, man, as a way to make money off you. It's a scam. They sell you the dream. They tour you through these apartments and call them luxury. Ain't a damn thing about them luxury, man. You can get an apartment or a house with a pool any damn where. But then they sit there and sell you a dream, making you think that you finna get approved for this apartment, and you pay that $45 or that $100 non-refundable application fee, and then they end up denying you, or they saying you need 3 times the rent. How many people sitting around in 2026 in this economy with 3 times their rent sitting in their account? Come on, man. The reality is people not really doing it, man. Overpriced apartments, overpriced houses. People would rather just live in their vehicles. Well, why not? It's cheaper. You can pull up to a Walmart parking lot after it closed and just go to sleep. You can pull over at truck stops. Truck stops are free. They don't charge you a lot space or nothing. You can just pull up at a freaking resting station for trucks and just go to sleep, man. The way that this economy is upside down, man. I see people sleeping at the park on benches. I see people sleeping in their cars, and they don't care if you walking past laughing at them or not. You know why? Because they're actually laughing at you. They know that you gotta pay that high cost of living. They don't. All they gotta do is keep up their car payment every single month. They don't have to worry about property taxes. They don't have to worry about utilities. They don't have to worry about lawn care service. They don't have to worry about none of that stuff. All they gotta do is worry about keeping gas in their vehicle. And there's a lot of people who actually live like that, man. And they're actually able to save money. I'm not trying to encourage anybody to live in their car, but the reality of it is a lot of people are living in their cars and they making a really good life. They even got videos on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram of women living out of their vans. They fix their van up, they go to the beach and take a shower or a bath in the beach. Or you can go to what they call those gas stations, Love's gas stations, pay a couple dollars and you can take a shower there every single day, man. People rather just live in their cars than to live in the house because of the rent is so high, man. You guys let me know in the comments what y'all think. I'm out.
We are living in a retirement nightmare right now with so many people facing homelessness. You know, when I grew up, seeing your parents, and then for me working decades, you think retirement is a time of peace and quiet. You're rewarded for all your hard work. And for so many, it has become a complete nightmare. It's not like that anymore, unfortunately. There are so many people right now that are one rent, one medical bill, and one bad month of being homeless out on the streets. That's very sad. But that, unfortunately, is the reality that we are living in right now. I grew up believing that after working really hard for years, and everything would be fine. You know, you're putting into your 401k. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have a 401k, I worked for only one company that had a 401k, so I really didn't have a whole lot in a 401k. I was fortunate enough to have a pension, not a large one by any means, but I just saved for my retirement. That's what I had to do. So many people right now are having a hard time with the housing costs, the groceries, the insurance. We're being taxed to death. So you're going to see people that are not always going to tell you how bad they're struggling. I get it. They're proud. I get that.
A real breakdown of why a car payment is beating rent for a lot of people right now, and a generation realizing retirement isn't the reward they were promised. Does that surprise you? Or does it just confirm what you already suspected? Tell me below. Here's someone who chose to walk away from that fear entirely, the math behind that decision, and the question that honestly deserves a real answer.
Keep getting comments from people that say, oh my gosh, that must be so hard living in your vehicle. And then, of course, they're praying for me. So first, let me say, we all choose our hard, right? I thought what was a lot harder for me was living in an apartment, paying $1,600 a month to a company that I didn't like, in a place that I didn't really want to be. Like, it felt like it was in opposition to who I was as a person. And got to the point where I'm like, is this unethical for me to pay this when I feel so strongly about this insane cost of living crisis? I'm the kind of person, like I said, you know, I oppositional defiant disorder as a kid, I am constantly questioning structures and institutions and asking, why the fuck are we doing this? More so as I've gotten older. The things that I understood that we should want whenever I was younger, the American dream, so to speak, that is a delusion. That is a delusion, that it's fed to us to keep us productive under capitalism. I'm not doing that anymore. Not paying rent anymore. I fucking refuse. If there comes a day where there's a reasonable cost of living, I may readjust to that. Because after living like this, I just cannot imagine giving a third of my paycheck or more to somebody for rent. I cannot imagine it. So is this an easy life? No. But I felt a lot more stress and anxiety when I had an apartment. I sleep pretty soundly at night knowing that my paycheck is mine. And I've saved more money in the last 9 months than I did in many years prior. So it was hard, Depends on your version of art.
So, a lot of people are choosing the option of living in their cars simply because they cannot afford to pay rent. In North Carolina, the rent prices are pretty high, but they're not as high as some places that I have seen. People paying $3,000 for $5,000 for a one bedroom? Where they do that at, friend? Because who in their right mind can afford that when wages just have not increased? So a lot of people are taking their cars, they're turning them into, their own little home. They're taking RVs, they're taking vans, and they're camping that way. Now, if you have a full-time job, I can see how you can save a significant amount of money by doing this. Now, of course, if you're not working, it would be a lot harder, but what the person needs is food, water, shelter, and protection. Your home, that becomes your car. Food, you can go to food banks. You may have a little bit of money coming in here and there. You use that for food, water is free, protection, whatever you have. So I can see why people do it, but I think that everybody should have a home to live in that's not their car.
What is going on right now, but it's not making sense, okay? People keep building apartments, keep building these sky-rise luxury apartments, etc. Who are you putting in these? The real estate market is dropping. Everyone can't even afford rent. And then, F all that, okay? To get into an apartment, 3 times the rent, 6 times the rent, credit score gotta be 800, da-da-da-da, you don't. Why do you keep building apartments if they're just gonna sit empty? All these apartments are sitting empty because to get into an apartment, because my friend's trying to get into an apartment right now, and it is, you would think she's trying to get into the freaking White House, the Vatican. Like, it is ridiculous trying to get approved for an apartment nowadays. Thank God I have one. Blessed be God. Blessed be the good Lord. Because what is happening? What is happening? Why are y'all charging an astronomically amount of rent? 1. 2, to even get into an apartment. First off, don't y'all need people in there? But then you're going to jump through hoops to get in there? Oh, we need your security deposit. It's going to be $1,000. If you don't get approved, they don't send that back for they can take up to 30 days. But y'all want that right now. And they'll take it out of your account quick. But it takes you a week, a month to send it back. I just don't get it. It's giving wasted time to me because y'all keep building these apartments and you're not even putting anybody in it because, you don't qualify. So who qualifies? 6 times the rent. The rent is $3,000. Who makes that, bro? Do you even make that? You don't. So why are you trying to look in my friend's face talking about you need to pay 6 times the rent? Baby, you don't make 6 times the rent. I'm confused. Stop building apartments if you're not going to put people in them.
Someone who found more peace living simply than paying rent to a place that never felt right. The actual math behind that choice. And new luxury towers going up while regular people can't qualify for anything at all. Somebody explain that gap to me. Drop your theory below. If you're still here, you clearly care about this conversation, so make it official, hit subscribe, because we're just getting to the part that ties it all together. 1. Look at the road ahead for the next generation, then something genuinely useful from someone living this life every day.
I'm a little concerned Just on how my generation and the future generations are supposed to buy homes. So how are we supposed to buy a home when minimum homes are 300,000? 20% of 300,000 is 60,000. So for me to have to save up $20,000 just to put down, never mind closing costs and your realtor that you have to pay and all of the other fees that you have to pay, which could be a minimum of like 8 to 15,000 for closing costs. I've heard people pay way more. And then what if you want to have a family? What if your girlfriend or your wife gets pregnant and you're like, hey, we should raise this baby. How are you going to afford it? Who's going to watch your baby? So I just want to like think about that for people who are rushing into relationships and rushing to grow up. It is very difficult, not only because you can't afford anything unless you make above 100,000, especially in the New England, you just can't afford to live. Like, you can't even afford to save money. You can't afford to go on vacation. Most of these people are living paycheck to paycheck. So don't rush to move out.
This video is for anyone who's about to be homeless and considering living in their vehicle. I've come up with a list of tips that might help you navigate this lifestyle. My name is Alexis and I currently live in a minivan, but I've been living in vehicles on and off for about 4 or 5 years now. My first tip is to find out where all of the local parks are. Parks are great for a number of reasons. First of all, a lot of times they have a bathroom that you're able to use. They also have water fountains where you can fill up your water. And a lot of times just being at a park and in the midst of nature can be very relaxing and give you a sense of privacy. Not to mention a lot of them have picnic tables, grills, etc. Parks are going to be your best friend. Another tip is utilize your local libraries. Libraries are going to be a great place to get out of the elements, whether you want to warm up or cool down. They are also a really great place to charge your phone or any other electronics that you need to charge. And again, they have bathrooms and also computers and other tools that you can use. It's a great place to relax and unwind.
A down payment that now takes years just to save toward. And real, practical wisdom from someone. Turning a hard situation into something manageable. Parks, libraries, organization, community. That's not giving up, that's adapting with dignity. And to close this one out, one moment of pure relief, and one quiet image that says more than any statistic could.
I'm ugly crying right now because I have not made any money at all, and unemployment still hasn't paid me, and I've had a couple people interested in taking my apartment, but then they just fell through last second, and I'm like, we're days away from July 1st, and I was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna pay rent. Like, I had no idea, and I've had like half of it, and I just won this fucking giveaway, which I was just like, oh, this is cool. Like, I won like a travel, so I was like, I can use this for my birthday. Because it was just like a travel gift card, and they go, yeah, we can give this to you, or you can pick cash. You can choose your prize. And I'm like, there was no cash in the giveaway stuff below. Like, it never said anything about cash. And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, how does the cash work? And they're like, we'll just Venmo you. And I'm like, like, I literally responded, I was like, you guys don't even know how much, like, you're blessing me right now. Like, this is insane. Like, so I knew I won, and I was like, okay, let's just wait, because, like, you don't know if it's actually gonna happen. And they just fucking Venmoed me the money. And I'm like, I really needed it. And I'm just now I can pay my rent, and I have like another month to like find a job and figure things out instead of like scrambling and being super stressed. It just feels unreal, and it's weird because I just was talking about like I had this feeling like I wasn't supposed to leave and sublet. Like, I had a feeling like something was gonna work out. I had no idea what. And this giveaway today, like, I can't even believe it. Like, I'm just so blessed. Unreal.
So I see so many people that are living in their car. I used to pick up at Panera Bread every morning. I would go in there. I would get out to work at like 6 a.m. doing DoorDash, and I would see the same car in the parking lot every single morning. And this person, they would sit in the parking lot all day, and you could see their stuff in their car. And clearly this person was homeless, living in their car. There are so many people who live in their cars. Even like Walmart parking lots, you'll see the same cars there all day. And it's very, very sad, but that's just what people have to do because they don't have the money to afford this high rent. That is an issue. Nobody should have to live in their cars just because they can't afford rent. It's just not the way to live.
A stranger's generosity landing at the exact right moment. And the same car, in the same parking lot. Every single morning, somebody's whole life fitting into a front seat. Hard work still means something in this country. It's just being tested harder than ever. That's worth remembering. If this hit you the way it hit me putting it together, do 2 things for me right now. Hit subscribe and tell somebody about this channel, because the more of us watching and talking about this, the harder it is to ignore. And down in the comments, tell me which story in this video you're still thinking about.